I hope you're doing well. I've been kind of considering certain things. First of all, I want to just announce that the youngest grandchild that I have now is just a few months old, not even actually a few months yet. Well, unless you count the womb. Actually, a little over a month, and he's home. The little girl is just waiting to come home, maybe another week or so, but we're excited about that, and please just be praying for them. And certainly Emily and Jim, because they got their hands full. I mean, full. More ways than one. We have a lot to be thankful for. The verse that we've looked at on Sunday mornings in 2 Timothy chapter 1 and verse 7, that verse that speaks to each one of us that the word God has not given us a spirit of, the word fear it's a different word than the normal word for fear. The word here speaks more of like a moral cowardice, like a person is just simply a coward, morally can't take a stand. Now, we live in a culture today where a lot of people are putting pressure on us to just shut up and go along. I think of Niemöller's poem about World War II, and prior to World War II, first they came for the Jews, and I said nothing, and it goes through a whole list. Then they came for me. I didn't say anything. I never took a stand. Now, what's really beautiful about 2 Timothy is Paul's attitude is not one of contention or fighting or argumentative. In fact, he's very clear, and it's consistent throughout the scriptures, that we live our life as best we can doing good, and that the testimony of that good in 1 Peter chapter 2 and verse 15 and on will speak to the hearts and souls of others. Just like Jesus in Acts 10:38 went about doing good. That's how we live. But we certainly don't shrink or, how can I say it, act in a cowardly way regarding what we know to be true. This culture needs people that believe something, because we are in a world, much like it speaks of in Ephesians 4:14, where people are just tossed to and fro by every wind of doctrine, just teaching and the cunning craftiness of men, meaning that people twist words and truths, half-truths, only partial truth, so that they can move people emotionally. And it's important for us to stand up for what's true and look at things in a much more objective manner, and not always believing that we have, the cornerstone of truth in terms of we know everything, but we're open to discuss various aspects. And along those lines, if God hasn't given us a sense of moral cowardice, where we're just a coward and we're withdrawing, but notice this, it's of power, and the word power there basically comes from the root word for ability. God gives us the capability. And notice this, he gives us the love, and he also gives us a sense of discipline, self-control. That word sound mind means that we can think in a way that's rational and reasonable. The word actually comes from two words, one to think and the other to save. So it's a kind of like thoughts that save us. A person who's rational and is reasonable has much to say and to speak into the lives of others because they're not tossed by everything that comes along. And I'm hoping that we can do this in our lives. I was speaking to someone today who's in a quandary about a relationship that they have with one of their relatives, but the grandchild is And by the way, if the person that I spoke to today hears this, I'm not giving away names, and I would never in any way betray trust. But we were speaking and just came to the conclusion that the most important relationship is the relationship that a grandparent has with their grandchild, especially if the two parents are not living a life that's reflective of Christ, to do everything within their power to maintain that relationship. Why? Because we have the ability. God's given us the ability. God's expressed to us his love and has placed that very same love. We have a standard for love. It's not just physical, and it's not just self-satisfying. We have a standard for love that's willing to suffer and experience hardship. And we know how to reasonably think through circumstance and not just be tossed by every emotional bent that comes down the road. This is what we do for our culture. This is what we show them. This balance. But you know what? We can't do that if we're just morally a coward. Meaning that we don't take a stand when we know it's true. We just apathetically step back and let things be what they are. Again, I'm not talking about fighting. I'm just talking about speaking the truth in love. And not just speaking it in Ephesians 4:15, but living the truth in love. And being reasonable, being that person that can be reasonable, that's not just driven intellectually by their emotions. And that person that has the ability that comes from God to do this. That's what it means to not be morally a person who is morally, if you will, affected by the world around them, and therefore a coward. Till next time, friends, God bless you.